I know what I'm getting excited about is that, AI is moving, just like it should through the Gartner hype cycle. We're getting past that big inflated expectations part. People are now starting to think some thoughtful ways to use it.
I think we've been making a big bet in AI for a very long time. The Brand Tech Group was founded back in 2015. One of our founding pillars was the belief in machine-generated and AI-led content. So for a very long time, we've been believing in the power of that to be transformative. I think what's become so evident recently is just how big that transformation is going to be. Yeah. And that it is going to impact not just the content, but the data and the media and the intersection of all three of those things as well.
If you're actually going to use data and AI intelligently, what you want to do is connect all your data across the commercial agenda so that you're looking at things like marketing, RGM, supply chain, R&D. Right. You want to connect all those decisions because everything's a variable that can be optimized. And the more you understand about how all those things relate, price, promotion, how you're distributing your product, the more you can make intelligent decisions. So when you really think about it, all of those silos just stand in the way and create friction between you and the future.
Yeah, I think the important thing on AI, as we've been talking about for a while, is there's a lot of immediate and practical application. I think last year was definitely a big hype year for AI.
I personally believe we have to keep the transparency. That has to be absolutely paramount. I don't know how we trust in a media ecosystem that is not disclosing to us when we are interacting with AI and when we're not. So I think you always need that kind of human leadership and authorship. I think kind of quality, authorship, legality and ethics are huge topics that there are a lot of forces working to solve for right now. And that is a crucial part to making sure that we can trust and interact safely with an AI-generated media.
Because it's not going to replace media planners, but media planners who use AI are going to replace media planners that don't.
The fact is that a lot of things that today are incredibly difficult will not be in the future. And the things that are easy should be easy. And the things that really do require human intelligence are going to need much more strategic upstream thinking about what are the goals, how do you design the KPIs, how do you optimize intelligently, and how do you connect the dots between really complicated decisions across silos of the organization to really make sure that you're making the right trade-offs between the short and the long term across the product portfolio and to make sure you're driving value creation.
But AI-generated influencers and creators.
That is so strange to me, but it's real.
Yeah, it's very, very real. And I probably incoming would have guessed it was 2, 3, 5 years away from being real.
Yeah.
But the amount of influencers that I've spoken to that are like, oh, I'm actually concerned about a brand's ability to go in and say, hey,
I don't need you anymore.
Exactly. Or own the influencer, own the creator, right? Be able to go into tech and say, I want a person in their mid 40s who is fashionable, who has 2 kids, and generate a somewhat seemingly realistic human being, and then they control that IP and they control that person's digital existence. That is interesting. I think it's super early, but I've heard it at least multiple times every day.
When we see real people augmenting the work they do, real creators augmenting the work they do with AI, it is enabling them to have the value of AI accrue with the creator economy, which I think is great. That you should be able to be faster, that you should be able to take the pain out of some of that kind of creative workload, that we should have more diverse and broad kind of creative outputs. That I completely endorse and believe in.
There's things you can do today with artificial intelligence and specifically with Gen AI that maybe are not as fun to talk about and not as big as, theorizing about an AI agency, but there are very real applications we want to bring to clients and also really bring internally to our team.
Being able to listen to that and then support additional content or programming that reinforces the perception of your brand with AI essentially is
that's a whole new skill people have to learn.
A whole new place that we're going to go, and I think creators are going to be an incredibly big piece of
We're
that.
talking to a lot of large client organizations who are really grappling with, if we disrupt the linear nature of the way we make content, what does this mean for our business and how we work? We
workflow structure, those kind.
We condense optimization. We open up the possibility of creative optimization. We take this linear process and we completely disrupt it. what roles do we need? How should we work? How do we partner?
That does not sound easy.
And I don't think it is easy, but I think it's truly the disruptive part of the transformation that you mentioned. And so I think that's going to be a really big and interesting conversation for the second half.
That's going to be fascinating to watch.
Actual fear of a really large change. And I think appreciating that it is a tectonic change, not just for us in the marketing and advertising space, but it's a tectonic change for the world.
One of the things that I think is going to be a difficulty for us is explainability. And I have some clients that are regulated in terms of how they can offer their products to different advertisers. I have an AI algorithm that's not going to be able to explain how it does its ads. That is a big problem.
Yeah. From a personal perspective, I have really doubled down, and this isn't my background, but I have really doubled down on the legal and ethics side of AI. I just don't think you can be having a conversation responsibly with a client and not have made that your...
You don't want to guess on those kind of things.
This is not a guessing space. This is it's big. It's being completely reshaped, and I think that you really have to have focus and understanding around where you want to draw those lines in the sand for your organization. And to do that, you really have to understand what's coming from regulation, but also where responsible AI takes you.
Yeah. Responsible use to me is one of these things that will help us feel better about the automation, some of the feelings of black box or lack of transparency, and where is consumer data going as much as our proprietary brand data. If we can start defining frameworks and guidelines around what responsible use means, it'll become a much more real world term for people to be throwing about as what they do.
Seeing the progression of how the conversations are happening with AI is exciting for me, for sure. And it's a conversation that needs to happen.